You are standing in a stone chapel that smells of wax and mountain pine, high in the hills of northern Syria in the year 838. The bell above your head has just rung what everyone knows is its last clear note. Outside, the horizon is smudged with dust, not from weather but from riders. Black banners move like a second sky along the valley floor. Inside, 23 women kneel in rows, lips moving in Syriac, voices barely above a whisper. Their words are familiar. What makes them strange today is the bitter knowledge that they might be their last. This place is called the Convent of the Holy Cross, a small community perched between pine forest and rock. It has existed longer than some border towns below it, anchored by prayer and routine while empires shift around its walls. The Abbasid Caliphate, ruling from Baghdad, has already swallowed kingdoms and cities, stretching from North Africa toward India. Chroniclers praise its libraries, physicians, poets, and mathematicians. Yet the same system that copies Greek philosophy also sends horsemen toward this quiet hill, seeing not saints, but assets that have not yet been processed. You watch Mother Sophia, the abbess, rise slowly from the front row. In her hands she holds an old wooden cross, worn pale where generations of fingers have clutched it during storms and funerals. Her face is calm in a way that makes your stomach twist. She knows what black banners mean on this frontier. She has read letters from other monasteries that vanished from maps but left faint warnings in ink. Around her, some sisters tremble, some stare at the altar, some seem strangely relieved that the long-expected moment has finally arrived. Counterfeit to understand what is about to happen to these women, you have to understand the empire moving toward them. Under the Abbasids, Christians and Jews in conquered lands can live as protected but subordinate communities, taxed and restricted, yet allowed their worship within agreed boundaries. That is the theory written in legal texts. On the Byzantine frontier, reality is harsher. Villages change hands in seasonal campaigns, and captives are swept south in their thousands. Men become laborers, soldiers, or eunuchs. Women are drawn into households and palaces. Children grow up speaking Arabic and reciting verses they did not choose. For administrators in Baghdad and frontier governors alike, people are entries in ledgers. Records from the period describe religious captives, female, grouped with notes on origin, age, and intended service. It is a system built not on outbursts of rage, but on habit. The goal is not to create martyrs whose stories inspire resistance. The goal is to absorb, convert, or quietly erase communities that symbolize another loyalty. Monasteries and convents on this border are particularly troubling. Every bell, every copied manuscript, every woman praying in Syriac announces that another world still exists within sight of Abbasid banners. You see that tension in the faces around you when a local farmer bursts through the convent gate, breath ragged, dust in his beard. He throws himself at Mother Sophia's feet and stammers news. Riders in the valley, banners marked with Quranic phrases, more than he could count. He does not stay for comfort. He runs back downhill toward his family, though both of you know there is nowhere to run in a bowl-shaped valley already filling with troops. Mother Sophia gathers the sisters into the chapel. No one needs her to explain what this visit means. Sister Helena, 70 years old and almost as much stone as the chapel she loves, kneels with difficulty at the back. She has seen wars come and go for nearly half a century, outlasting 3 abbesses, several caliphs, and more rumors of raids than she can number. Near the front, 19-year-old Sister Miriam presses her hands together so tightly her knuckles whiten. She came here after bandits destroyed her village, and for 2 years this mountain has felt like the first safe place she has known. Now the safety cracks like plaster as hoofbeats grow louder outside. You hear the gates splinter before you see the soldiers. They do not charge in shouting. They enter like men arriving at a worksite. 3 dozen dismount, armor and mail catching the morning light. Curved swords stay in their scabbards. Behind them come 2 men without armor. One wears the robe of a scholar, the other plain clothing, but carries authority in the way his gaze moves across the courtyard, counting doors, assessing walls, measuring risk. He is later named in a Byzantine chronicle as Khalid ibn Suleiman, a governor's representative. This is not his first convent. Claying the sisters are brought into the courtyard, urged along but not roughly handled. Protocol matters. First comes comes the offer. Khalid unrolls a scroll and reads in careful Greek, giving the caliph his full chain of titles. He explains that all subjects in conquered lands may accept Islam and gain full rights, remain as taxed dependents under set conditions, or face consequences if they resist authority. The language is formal, polished by many repetitions. When he finishes, the women look to Mother Sophia. She steps forward, voice steady. They already belong to another king and cannot serve two masters. You expect anger. Instead, Khalid shows what looks almost like relief. The line between mistake and defiance has been clearly drawn, and clear lines make administration simpler. He orders the women confined in their chapel for 3 days to reconsider. Food and water, he promises, will be provided. The heavy door closes behind them. A beam falls into place with a thud that seems to echo through every stone. Outside, the camp settles with the ease of practice. Fires are lit, animals tethered, jokes traded. Inside, the women discover that the promised provisions have not yet arrived. By the second sunset, hunger and thirst gnaw at muscles already weakened by fear. Yet this is territory the nuns know. Their life has always involved fasting, cold vigils, knees pressed into stone long after comfort ends. Mother Sophia reframes their ordeal in words that are both faith and strategy. "We choose this," she tells them. "What they intend as pressure becomes our offering." It is a small act of control inside a narrowing circle. When at last a servant slides in a pitcher of water and fresh bread, the chapel fills with the thick, painful scent of mercy. You see Sister Miriam reach toward the bread as if in a dream. Mother Sophia catches her hand gently. The older nun knows exactly what this gift means. To drink and eat now is to accept dependence, to feel gratitude that will soften the next demand. Sister Helena, lips cracked, whispers that if they take it, their captors will not have to force them. Their own bodies will argue for compromise. After a long, tortured pause, they back away. By morning, the bread is stiff, the water nearly gone in the heat. Outside, someone laughs at a joke in Arabic. At dawn on the 4th day, the door opens again, light slicing across the floor. Khalid looks in, expression unreadable. He sees faces thinner than when he arrived, backs straighter than he expected. In neat script, a later note in his ledger will record, "Convent of Holy Cross. 23 religious women refused initial terms to be transported to the capital. The plan has shifted. If they will not bend easily here, they will be taken into the heart of the system that manages such resistance." You watch ropes tied around their wrists as the road southward begins. The march is not fast. It does not need to be. Mountains grind the resolve of even trained soldiers, and these women are used to garden paths, not rocky passes. Blisters bloom and burst in their sandals before midday. Sister Thekla, in her 60s, stumbles again and again until 2 younger sisters support her between them. After one evening halt, she does not wake. The burial is brief, hands scooping earth beside the road, while guards look on without malice or pity. In Khalid's ledger, a line appears. Number remaining, 22. Grief becomes a statistic. You walk with them in your imagination as days blur together. Sun, dust, aching legs, simple prayers whispered when breath allows. On another morning, Sister Anastasia simply sits down and refuses to rise, eyes fixed on a point beyond the visible horizon. Perhaps she is thinking of home, perhaps of paradise, perhaps of nothing at all. No one has strength to carry her. The column moves on. By evening, she is a dark speck behind them, then nothing. The ledger updates again. Another life becomes a subtraction, noted in ink that will long outlast the body it describes. Unborn on that road, something changes inside the surviving nuns. The tears dry. The pleas stop. They are not resigned. They are resolved. They have made their choice and will walk it to the end, whatever that end is. Years later, a Syriac letter preserved in a monastery library will describe an abbess seen during such a march, dressed as a convert, eyes empty, yet lips moving in silent prayer. It may be Mother Sophia, it may be another like her. Either way, the pattern is clear. The goal is not to inspire witnesses, it is to manufacture ghosts. You arrive with them at Raqqa on the Euphrates, where the empire's arteries meet the river. Barges and galleys crowd the banks, carrying grain, soldiers, merchants, and prisoners. The women are chained to benches in the hold of a transport vessel, designed for efficiency, not comfort. Each day brings one measure of water, one simple meal, just enough to keep them useful. At night, the sound of waves against wood mixes with Helena's faint recitation of psalms she has prayed for 50 years. Even some guards fall silent, listening to words they do not understand from a world they barely remember. Like Baghdad appears at last, around a bend, round city, with its walls and shining domes straddles the Tigris. Markets hum with languages from across 3 continents. Scholars debate in courtyards, while traders argue over silk and spices. This is the same metropolis where algebra is being refined, medical texts compiled, star charts corrected. You follow the chained women as they are led past mosques and gardens toward a rear entrance of the palace complex, away from ambassadors and courtiers, down stone steps into corridors that smell of kitchens, storage rooms, and human fatigue. In a low underground chamber, an official reads out their new status in clipped tones. They are now part of the caliph's household, assigned to domestic service and religious instruction. Their old names are replaced with Arabic ones. Their habits are taken and plain garments given in their place. It is not the spectacle of punishment that later paintings would imagine. There is no theater here, only a bureaucracy that treats identity as something to be reassigned. Days become a cycle of scrubbing marble floors, hauling water, tending fires, and collapsing on thin mats under the supervision of weary guards. You follow Sister Miriam, now called Zara by those around her, as she scrubs a rarely used corridor one afternoon. The air here is cooler. The stones sound hollow under her brush. Pushing aside a fallen slab, she discovers a narrow doorway half blocked by debris. Over days, in stolen moments, she clears it. Behind lies a small room, barely wide enough for a handful of people, ceiling low enough to touch. To administrators, this is an odd leftover space in the palace foundation. To these women, it is something else entirely, a corner of the world that is not watched. At night, when the household sleeps and the guards grow careless, the nuns slip to this hidden chamber 1 or 2 at a time, pretending to visit the latrines. In darkness, they whisper prayers in Syriac and Greek, share crumbs of bread and sips of water like a quiet, improvised communion. With pottery shards and broken fingernails, they begin to scratch marks into the plaster, crosses, names, phrases remembered from Scripture. Mother Sophia traces words from the Gospel of John, "The light shines in the darkness." It takes weeks. Each letter is an act of resistance more durable than any spoken refusal. Centuries jump forward. You stand now beside an archaeologist in 2009 in the ruins of an Abbasid palace complex in Iraq, watching dust fall from a newly opened wall. Behind it is a small chamber hardly larger than a storage closet. When a flashlight beam cuts across the interior, the walls flicker with lines. Not cracks, not random scratches, dozens, then hundreds of tiny crosses, Greek letters, Syriac curves. In one corner, a small bird with spread wings. On another wall, just visible, a phrase specialists will identify as that same line from John's Gospel, carved by a patient, injured hand. Reports and articles follow. Epigraphers date the plaster. Historians link the chamber to administrative fragments that mention groups of religious captives assigned to palace service. One surviving document, written in precise Arabic, records that unproductive captives have been removed from palace rolls, transferred to secondary labor, or removed from records. That final phrase is a polite veil. It means disappearance. It means lives that ended without markers. Yet the scratches in this room contradict the attempt at erasure. They say, across nearly 12 centuries, we were here, we refused, and even if you never meant anyone to see us, someone finally did. And this video is created for educational of power, corruption, and human conflict. Blackmail without depicting explicit or graphic events. You are back now where you began, in the dark with those women, and also here in the present, listening to echoes they carved for you without knowing your language or your world. The Abbasid Caliphate that once ruled from Baghdad is gone, its palaces ruined, its libraries scattered by time and conquest. Yet the faint lines in that chamber still speak. Which victory matters more, the empire that organized peoples with extraordinary skill, or the captives who, with nothing but belief and damaged fingernails, wrote themselves back into memory? If that question unsettles you, stay with it. If this story made you notice how easily power turns people into entries on a page and how stubbornly memory resists that transformation, stay with us. Subscribe for the next chapter from these darker corners of human history and carry these anonymous voices with you so they are never quite silenced again.